West Ham United need to shake up any lingering after effects of that damaging defeat at home to Charlton Athletic in the Championship on Saturday, because we are now heading to a cup clash against Southampton. This will be a big test of not just of our credentials in the Carabao Cup, but I believe this will also have a great deal of carryover into the Championship, because I believe that Southampton will actually be one of our rivals for certainly the upper positions in the Championship, that's for sure. But who are Southampton? There's probably a lot of you that might not necessarily be aware of a lot of Southampton's history. So I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a flavour as to who Southampton are. So they were founded in 1885 as St Mary's Young Men's Association. That's where their nickname of the Saints comes from. They've always been known to developing elite talent, playing attractive football, and for punching above their weight. Some of their key historical moments are they were FA Cup winners in 1976 with a famous win over Manchester United when Southampton themselves were actually a second-tier team. They've also been First Division runners-up. There was football before the Premier League, ladies and gentlemen, in 1983-84 season when they finished 3 points behind then league champions Liverpool. They were also founding members of the Premier League in 1992 and reached the League Cup final in 2017 after a narrow loss to Manchester United by a scoreline of 3-2. They've also managed to put together a 25-game unbeaten run, which is one of the longest in Championship history. Some of their great past players, people like Matthew Le Tissier, Mick Channon, Terry Payne, plus a few stars of modern times that a few of the younger fans will probably know, such as Sadio Mane, Virgil van Dijk, Adam Lallana, are some of the players that have gone through St Mary's. And St Mary's is their stadium currently. They used to play at the Dell. They've been at St Mary's since about 2001. It has a capacity of in excess of 32,000. It's a tight ground, loud atmosphere, and when they're flying, it can be an intimidating place to play. So West Ham will need to be on their guard. Now, in terms of their current form, the current squad is composed of mainly young and energetic players, and they're built around a high-tempo pressing model, technical midfield players as well, such as Leo Cienza, their players, fans player of the year and players player of the year nonetheless. He carried both awards off last season. Finn Azaz, Flynn Downs, remember him? 𝕹𝕖𝕙𝕚, Ben Brereton Diaz, Jack Stevens, their captain, Taylor Harwood-Bellis, although he might not be here for too much longer, and Daniel Peretz, their goalkeeper. Now, their playing style is they want to dominate the ball with aggressive pressing, quick transitions, technical midfielders, fullbacks pushing on high energy front football. Some of their matches recently, in terms of competitive football, their last outing, they had a 3-1 win against Stoke City. A certain 𝕊𝕬𝕦𝕥𝕙 managed to get themselves on the score sheet for that one, although their opening day outing was against Watford away, where they lost that game 2-1, and they also had a 2-0 victory against Colchester at the Colchester Stadium, just off the A12 there. So in terms of their form in competitive matches, it's 2 wins, 1 defeat, 6 goals scored, 3 goals conceded. Now, Kyle Larin looks sharp, but their defence does look vulnerable, especially in transition. It's just a few of their key players, as I say. Leo Cienza, he is a Brazilian, but he also has Luxembourgian descent. His strengths are that he is press resistant, he's a creative passer, he's a good dribbler. His weaknesses are that he's quite lightweight, he switches off defensively, and he is inconsistent in some of those scrappy games. Kyle Larin, his strengths are he's a powerful runner, he's a direct threat, and he's a strong finisher. But some of his weaknesses are that he has a loose first touch, he's limited as far as link-up play is concerned, and he's very reliant upon the service he gets. But his recent form is that he's scored versus both Stoke and Colchester. Their captain, Jack Stevens, centre-back, he's been around the block a little bit. He's played at Premier League and Championship level for various different clubs, either permanently or on loan. He had a loan spell at Bournemouth not so long ago. He's a vocal organiser, he's got an aerial presence, and he's a good reader of the game, but some of his weaknesses are that he lacks pace, he struggles in high-tempo matches, and he is quite vulnerable in one-on-ones. As far as our start is concerned, obviously we took care of Southampton's near rivals Portsmouth in the opening round of the Carabao Cup by a scoreline 3-1. But that scoreline probably doesn't tell you the full story. Portsmouth obviously went 1-0 up and we had to turn that game around. We had some tricky moments in that one, despite the fact we won that game by 3-1. Then obviously we had the Championship opener against Burnley. 2-0 up, you'd like to think we should see that one out. It ended up 2-2, and in another situation, we may well have gone on to lose that. A point away from home against a Championship rival. Probably in and of itself not a bad result, but when you look at the context of the fact we were 2-0 up, it probably tells its own story. And then obviously the game against Charlton, we dominated possession, but we just lacked that killer instinct, which is a bit of a concern. Charlton sat deep and they punished on the breaks. Obviously that second goal for Charlton was absolutely just laid bare all of our problems in a 20-second phase of play. Bowen created chances, but his finishing wasn't sharp. Castellanos at times flattered to deceive and obviously had that moment with the penalty right at the end. It was a frustrating defeat, and it highlights some of the inconsistencies and the need for sharper finishing and better defensive discipline. So obviously our record is 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat. Now, for me, I think that probably what we're going to see today, I think that we'll probably see a little bit of shuffling of the pack from Nuno. For me, if I was picking this team, I think I'd like to put a little bit of a different slant on things. I think I'd like to give 𝕹𝕚𝕚𝕚 a little bit of an opportunity between the sticks. I don't think that Mads Manson really covered himself with glory for that goal that he conceded against Lloyd James against Charlton. So I think I'd like to see the big Frenchman come in and sort of give him an opportunity. I'd like to see a back four. On the right, I think I'd bring in 𝕹𝕚𝕚𝕚 and I'd shift Kyle Walker-Peters across to left fullback. I think that Ollie Skiles has had a torrid time these opening 2 matches of the Championship season. So I think I'd probably give him a little bit of time out of the firing line and just move Walker-Peters across to left fullback. You could also argue that maybe you might bring in 𝕬𝕦𝕦𝕙𝕬 at left back, but I'd probably keep Walker-Peters in there. Obviously, he's an ex-Southampton player, so I dare say he'd be quite keen to go back to his old stomping ground. Centre-backs, now that's going to be an interesting one because to me, I don't think that either Kilman or Mavropanos have covered themselves in glory in these opening couple of games. I think there could be a case to, again, bring in maybe a 𝕬𝕦𝕦𝕙, perhaps play him at centre-back alongside either Kilman or Mavropanos, whichever one of them two you drop out. I don't think any of them could really have too many complaints if they're being dead honest with themselves. 𝕬𝕦𝕦𝕙 𝕬𝕦𝕦𝕙 is another player that could come into contention. I think for me, I would probably give 𝕬𝕦𝕦𝕙 an opportunity. It's difficult to know who to drop out, though. Would you drop out Kilman or would you drop out... As I say, neither one of them really has covered themselves in glory. But I think I'd probably drop out Kilman out of the two. I think I'd probably... But I don't know. It's a pick 'em. It really is. But then I'd probably go with a midfield 3. I'd probably like to see... I'd like to see 𝕬𝕦𝕦𝕙 maybe sort of play as a defensive midfielder. Let's see what he can do there. I think maybe he could do a shift there as far as that's concerned, play him at defensive mid. And then up ahead of him, I'd like to see Lewis Orford and Divine Makasa, a young, vibrant midfield 3. Why not? You know, we're sort of so used to seeing some pedestrian players. And let's get a little bit of youthful energy and exuberance in there. 3 youth players, 1 defensive midfielder in... 𝕬𝕦𝕦𝕙 and obviously Orford and Makasa operating as slightly more dynamic central midfield talent. And then you've got the front 3 that you need to pick from. Well, I think I'd give Joel Piroe another go. I mean, he's mentioned in some of the interviews since the Charlton defeat that it showed that they'd not had much time training together. So I'd probably give Piroe another outing. On the right, it's difficult because I think Jarrod Bowen, he's obviously the captain, but do you sort of is this an opportunity to maybe give him a little bit of a breather? This is going to be a long, hard, nutritional season. But then again, we need to try and get some sort of positivity. It's a little doom and gloom that's around at the minute. And we brought it all on ourselves, to be perfectly honest, as far as the results and the performances principally are concerned. I think I probably would go with Jarrod Bowen on the right on balance. And I think I'd probably like to see on the left, go with Manor Solomon. But through the middle is... like I say, I think I'd go with Joel Piroe. I would drop Tati out. That'd be my starting 11, but you might have a different point of view on that. So you've got your comment section below. Get stuck into that and give us your starting 11. Give us who you think, where the game could be won and lost. I mean, like I say, I think Leo Chienza is, like I say, he's their standout player. Be interesting to see whether they put out a strong 11. Obviously, this being a League Cup game, be interesting to see where the priorities lie for both Nuno and 𝕤𝕤𝕦𝕦𝕙𝕬. So what do you think? Get your comments in the section below as far as the game at St Mary's this evening is concerned. What you think your starting 11 are. Please don't forget to drop a like on the stream. Give us a hype if you've got one available. That would really help us tremendously. Share this on your social media platforms. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, if you take out your mobile device and scan that QR code that's in the top left-hand corner, that will take you to our YouTube subscription page. Subscribing is free, data safe, only takes a couple of seconds of your time, and it helps to grow the channel to something bigger and better than it is as you currently find it. Come and join us on the journey. Thank you very much indeed for your support. And until next time, come on you Irons.